Hey, welcome back to another episode of the 4 Hour Work Week. I'm here with Keala, Kanae, my brother from Hawaii. Keala, you just have an amazing story. Thanks for being with us. So, those of you who've been following this show regularly, we started with the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, which teaches us how to automate our life, how to use the internet to create an income so we can live the life of our dreams. And Keala is someone, I'm going to let you tell your story, but in under a year, he created an incredible income and life of freedom for himself after graduating college and finding out that the system didn't necessarily work the way that we're taught, which can turn out to be a fortunate thing. So for all of you who've struggled with the way that you're taught that the way things are supposed to work, and now you're seeing, maybe this isn't the life I want, Keala's story is incredibly inspiring. And one of the things that I've gained the most and the feedback that I've got from you guys on this show, you've learned a lot from some of the technical and the systems, and I always want to show and share with you systems that work, the fastest and the easiest courses for you to follow in automating and sharing yourself online. But the interesting thing that's come from the guests that I brought on this show are the decisions, the commitments that they made in a single moment to just take action and to create a result in their life. And Keala, over and over, I've seen videos and heard you proclaim something that you're going to accomplish. And when you proclaim something, it's like being proactive. It's like you're active ahead of time to make something happen. When you proclaim, you've claimed it before it happens. You proclaim it out loud. And Keala, I mean, you're just like, you just say something's going to happen, you make it happen. And not only that, but the people around you, the way that you believe in people, and the way that people rise up because you believe in them, and the success you create around you is really an amazing thing, because it's rewarding to live the life that we live, but it is incredibly rewarding to help other people get free. So I want to give you the time. I want to thank you for being with us, and you guys. As always, just like I've got my notebook right here because I learn every single time we do this. So be taking notes. I promise you'll be getting some nuggets right now, because Keala's, I mean, he's creating a significant income for himself, multiple six figures now, right?
Yeah, I mean, so far this year, I've already done over 100,000 so far for the year, just this year. So.
Yeah, right. That's pretty good, right, you guys? And I know you're working just a couple hours, and and as always, we're going to talk about income. So you can check out at legal.blogyourvision.com if you want to see what average people are making. But we're not talking about average people here. We're talking about Keala. So so thank you, brother, for being on. Tell us your story. I mean, tell us. Lay it out for us, for the people who are looking and saying, I'm where I'm at right now. How do I get from where I'm at to a life like you're living?
Okay, cool, man. So, like you mentioned, I did go to college. I graduated from high school in 2000, and then I immediately went into college. And college for me was more of like just basically doing what society tells us to do, right? I mean, I had promised my mom that I would, get a college degree. That was kind of like her dream for me, I guess, was to be like the first person in our family that actually graduated college. So in, August or September of 2000, I started college, and right around, inside of my first year in college, I also started my first business. So I'll kind of explain to you how all this stuff ties together as we go through the story. But my friends and I were throwing hotel parties all the time, and they got to this point where people would pay us to come to our hotel parties, right? Because we're a bunch of college dudes having a good time partying. Like, that's what we thought college was all about, right? And so we got to this point where people were paying us to come to our parties, and so we started asking ourselves, is there a way that we could get paid to throw parties? And it turns out that there is. It's called nightclub promotions. So I was still 17, maybe just turning 18 years old around the time that we started doing this. And so I went online and I found a way for us to make some fake IDs. So I made some fake IDs for us that made us 21. And then we found some contracts on the internet, some generic contracts, and we started taking those out to nightclub owners and offering them proposals, right? And so in 2001, I think we landed our first contract, and I started promoting nightclubs. And we did that for about 3.5 years. In the first 2 years, it was like a total failure. It was like every event we were losing money. I mean, we were buying radio ads, buying flyers, paying for banners. All of my scholarship money, because I got grant money and scholarship money for being Hawaiian to go to college. And so all of my extra funds after paying for school were going to that to keep the business running. And it was just tanking for like 2 years, but we just refused to give up. And then came around year 3, we finally started to make some income. And about 3.5 years in, my friends decided, my friends and I kind of decided to go separate ways. One wanted to move to the mainland, another one wanted to, go back to school. His grandparents are giving him a bad time because they're paying for everything. And so I decided to refocus my attention on college. And here I was in college, running my own business, and then going to school full time, right? And having a job, a part-time job. And so I get refocused on college. I ended up finishing in 2006, the first semester of 2006. So I was in college a little bit longer than what they claim is average. So I was above average in that way as well, I guess. So I ended up graduating in 2006, and as I was coming upon my graduation, I was getting my bachelor's degree in psychology. I started looking at jobs in the marketplace where I could utilize that degree. And jobs then, at that time, a starting job was like anywhere from $9 to $10 an hour on average. And here I was, I had invested close to like $30,000 in my education to get a $9 to $10 an hour job, right? And I had friends who had skipped the whole college rigmarole, right? And they were like busting tables at a restaurant, which might seem like, kind of not all that an honorable a position, but they're bringing home $15 and $20 an hour. I'm kind of thinking like, what's the point of this? Like now I get to go out, leave college, and be broke, right? So I went back to my college counselor and was talking to her about some of my options and stuff, and of course there was, well, Keala, if you're not happy with $9 or $10 an hour, you can come back for 2 more years, pay us $15,000 a year, and you can get your master's degree. And then when you graduate, here's some jobs you can get starting at like $20 an hour. And I'm like, well, I'm still making about what the busboy is making at the restaurant down the road, And then there's the whole, well, you can come back for your PhD for $30,000 a year, and for the next 4 years, Keala, you can continue to be broke and struggling, paying us every dime that you actually don't have yet, so that you can graduate school in debt, then go work for an actual doctor of psychology intern with them for 2 to 3 years, and eventually be able to earn about $100 an hour. And for me personally, I just wasn't buying it anymore. I'm like, I've been running my own business. I've made good money at this point, more than most people make leaving college. I'm just not kind of buying into this idea. So I left, and I ended up going and getting a job bussing tables at a restaurant, and then I worked my way up to a server, and then I eventually got into direct sales as a loan officer, and then dabbled a little bit in real estate and financial advising, and then ended up selling life insurance, and all that time kind of going back and forth between those jobs and serving tables, because those are all like commission-based jobs, right? So you have to have something to pay the bills while you learn and train and create some success in those industries. And then in 2012, in 2011, I had quit my job serving tables, and I had always been ambitious, throughout all these years, doing different entrepreneurial things. And in 2012, or the end of 2011, I quit my job serving tables at a restaurant here locally, and my friend and I started a social media business. And our goal was to help like brick and mortar companies start, get online and utilize social media to grow their business. And that totally, it's not like it failed. We got some clients right out the gates, It's just that we fired our boss, and he was a busser at the restaurant that I was at. Right? He's on my team now. He works with me now. He's getting incredible results. But we had fired one boss so that we could go out and get contracts and have a bunch of people act like they're our boss, right? And we were just like, this is not the dream, dude. This is not why, I was studying internet marketing. And so that eventually tanked. We canceled all the contracts. I mean, we completed the contracts we had, but we refused to renew any contracts. And then by June of 2012, I was back to nothing. Like, I had no money in the bank, no checking, no savings. I'd given everything to that business. And that's kind of this point where I started kind of looking at life and asking, like, what if I'm just not cut out for this? What if I'm just, it's been years now I've been struggling to succeed as an entrepreneur, and I haven't had any, really remarkable success at all. And so what if I'm just not cut out for this? What if it's just time for me to kind of throw in the towel and just accept the idea that maybe I just need to go out and get a job and work my way up the ladder and put away money in savings and hope that I have enough to retire, right? And that was a tough place to be in. I mean, like, when I started asking myself those questions, that was like tears in my eyes, sitting up late at night, wondering, like, is it time to just give up, And around that time is when I went out and I had to get a job, so I ended up getting a job at a coffee shop. I had given up everything going after that dream, so I had no car, so I needed to get a job near my home, within walking distance, and something immediate because I needed some income. So I ended up getting a job at a coffee shop, and a few months later, I kind of found Empower Network, and for 2.5 years now, I'd been online trying to figure out this whole make money online thing, right? Never making any money online. I think in that 2.5 years of spending thousands of dollars buying guru product after guru product, I had made like $40 online. So I got plugged in with Empower Network, and at first, I was really kind of skeptical. I was like, how is this going to be any different from anything else that I've done, yada, yada. And I ended up going to my first Empower Network event in San Diego, California in 2012, September of 2012, and that's where kind of the magic happened. That's where the breakthroughs took place, and that's where I made the decision that I was going to build my six-figure income here, right? And within about a month of leaving that event, I had to borrow the money from my mom to get started, right? Had no money in the bank, had to borrow money from my mom to get started, which was surprising that she even agreed, considering how many times she had seen me fail in my life. Within a month, though, I was able to pay her back. 5 months later, I was able to quit my job. Month 6, I had my first $10,000 month. Month 7, I had my first $15,000 month. And then pretty much all of last year, I just kind of coasted at like $15,000 a month. Like not really working very hard. It's pretty simple at this point, bringing in more money than I ever had made in my life, and it became easy to get comfortable, which is something that I'm afraid of, right? Like towards the end of last year, I kind of started to realize, like, hey, I allowed myself to get comfortable here, and that's no good, right? There's no growth in that. And so then this year, I decided to step it up even more and aim for $100,000 a month. I think in January I did about 26,000. February I did over 42,000. This month so far I think I'm at like 15 or 16,000. So we'll see what we close out the month with. But that's kind of a summarization of my story. And you mentioned the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and the dream of building an income and having a life. And I have to say, like, that's what brought me to the internet in the first place. Is in 2010, I was marketing a real estate investment education, and it was one of those like direct sales businesses where it's like, make a list of your friends and family members and contact them. And it's funny because people think that only happens in like network marketing, but like when I started in the mortgage industry, they told me to do that. When I started in real estate, they told me to do that. In life insurance, they told me to do that. In financial advising, they told me to do that. That's like what you do in direct sales, right? And so I remember meeting up with my mentor for this, to market this real estate investment education, and he sits me down, and I'm like, all right, so how do I get started? What's the first thing I need to do? And he said, well, you make a list of your friends and family members. I'm like, oh shit, not this. I mean, like, I've already done that, dude. My friends and family members are like tired of answering my phone calls because every year I'm trying to sell them something different, And so I was like, all right, I'll do it. He's my mentor. I'll do it. But in the meantime, I kind of got online and tried to figure out, like, there's got to be a way now with technology to generate some leads on the internet. And so I got online and started trying to figure that whole game out. And what eventually drew me to the internet full time is once I opened that door, like once I kind of stepped through that door and started seeing what people were doing on the internet, I realized, for me, this is what I call the freedom business model, right? Because prior to that, I think everybody most people, they have the dream, and the dream isn't to like go out and work 90 hours a week at a job to make $100,000 a month or $50,000 a month or $20,000, right? It's more like, well, if I could make $20,000 or $30,000 a month, that would be awesome, because then I could travel and I wouldn't have to worry so much about bills, and I would have this life. I could go out to nice dinners, buy nice bottles of wine, live in a nice home, go to and from whenever I feel like it. And so what I realized is that, like, nobody actually wants money. Nobody. We don't want money. It's not what we want. We want money as a means to something else, right? What we really want is a life. What we really want is, like, the freedom that we think that money is going to provide for us. But in my experience in direct sales as a loan officer in real estate and financial advising and life insurance, I met a lot of people that had that dream, and because of that dream, that's what brought them to that direct sales industry. But what ended up happening is I would meet people that were making, $20,000 and $30,000 in a month, but they were sacrificing the life to earn it, right? So what I found is that there's a lot of things that we can do out here to make a lot of money. Tons of stuff we can do to make money, right? But in most instances, you sacrifice what you really want in order to make the money. For example, if I'm in real estate, right, and I make $10,000 this month, well, in order for me to make that $10,000, well, I got to be on the phone with a lot of people. I got to set a lot of appointments, do a lot of showings, be on the phone with a lot of people who want to sell, on the phone with a lot of people who want to buy, go in and out of the office many times per day on average, multiple times over the weekend, right? Work every Sunday, okay? And eventually I can make $10,000 a month. And if I make $10,000 this month in real estate, then next month to make money in real estate, if I want to make $20,000, well, then I got to talk to twice as many people. I got to show twice as many homes, be in and out of the office twice as often. Work multiple weekends the entire month, and maybe I can get to $20,000 a month. And so what ends up happening is our income becomes tied to the amount of time that we're willing to put in, right? And we become a slave to, the almighty dollar. And when I got online, I saw the solution to that, basically. I saw that on the internet, we don't leverage our time as much as we leverage technology, right? I mean, in my business right now, I still put in time almost daily. I still put in time every week, every month. But in order to go from like $15,000 a month last month to $42,000 in a month this year, right? Or for $15,000 last year every month to $42,000 in a month this year, I actually didn't work harder. In fact, I actually worked less. I just got better at leveraging technology to go to work for me. And for me, that's the real dream, right? Is building a business and having a life, right? Because I live in paradise, basically, what people call paradise, right? I live in Hawaii. I live less than a mile from the beach. I mean, I walk there pretty often, right? What's the point of making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a month, living a mile from the beach, and never seeing it? Because that's the life that I was kind of headed for, back in all those direct sales companies. And now I spend, most mornings I start my morning at the beach, right? I actually don't even start work pretty often until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm done by like 5 or 6, So, I get to have lunch with my girl. I get to have breakfast with my family. I get to, have dinner with my family. I get to do a lot of things that most people don't get to do in their pursuit of money. And because I've learned to leverage technology, and what I think is actually the most powerful tool online, and is the internet. Because I leverage that stuff, I don't have to trade hours for dollars necessarily, right? So that's kind of my story, and I can get into like more detail as well. I know you want to talk about proclaiming a vision and whatnot, but I would pause here and just kind of see if you have any questions for me, because that kind of sums up
Yeah.
the general idea of it.
Well, there's a lot of things I didn't know about you. Like, I didn't know that you're promoting parties and making fake IDs. So
We'll call that extra legal, right? We won't use the words illegal because that might make me sound like a vagrant. So we'll say extra.
what's amazing is it's right. You tap into something that you love, and you go for it, right? And at the same time, you've got this other course going where you're like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You guys, honestly, I mean, the things that Keala just hit on, if you just dive into what you just learned and extract the gems and the nuggets for yourself, you're going to make it. And so much of what you just hit on, and everybody's hitting on, and the funniest thing, I didn't even ask Keala if he had read the 4-Hour Workweek. I just assumed, and it's just the case for so many of us. It's really started a movement. But the whole book, and you've read the book. If you haven't read the book, go get the book. But there's a mental shift that has to occur where you understand that the smartest, and I feel like most ethical thing, the most ethical, moral gift that I can give to my wife and my 3 kids, the highest value on a life level and a spiritual level, is to be the smartest human being that I can, and trade as little of my personal time, even though everything in society says this is how it works. This is. I grew up that was what was moral. To get up in the morning, go to work, break your back all day, whatever it was you're doing, give everything you've got, and that sacrifice of being away from your family, that was a good moral sacrifice that you made. That's what I grew up with. So it took me some transition to realize you've got everything you need in front of you. The systems, like, it's all been figured out. Keala talked about figuring out the internet, right? And technology goes through these stages. Like, somebody's figuring it out, kind of clunking along with it, and they figure out, it's like the iPad, right? There's these tablets, people can't use it, and then someone else figures out, hey, I'm going to make this so simple that I can just hand this. I saw an article where someone just handed it to a kid. He's traveling the world, just handed it to him. He just started pressing, swiping, figured it out, and it was like this huge breakthrough. He wrote this incredible blog post about it. That's where we're at right now. But it's a mental decision that you need to make, that from right now, forevermore, whatever you have to do, you're going to figure out how to be in control of the systems and use the gifts that you have of being a human being to control systems, just like Keala was talking about. Because your whole story is about the time that you figured out how to not have to trade your own time for money, and now you can actually. I mean, you hit on so much stuff. I mean, you're right, that point of struggle where you wanted to quit, and just not being motivated. Money doesn't really motivate us, you guys. You can set money goals. Most people, when I coach people, it's like not money goals that really like excite someone. They'll set a money goal. It's almost stressful to them, and then it's like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, here, you know, you get them, here's what I really want to do, and it's like, boom, like their pupils dilate, and it's like, you know, life starts flowing through people. And I mean, your story, Keala, just it illustrates that beautifully. And I mean, I'm so congratulations for everything that you've accomplished. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate the compliments. You know, you mentioned something that's really important in that, like, money is not. There are people who are motivated by money and they want to make money just for the purpose of making money. You know, I've met a few of those people in my lifetime, and that's totally fine to me. Like that's you know, to each his own, right? But most people that I meet, they're not actually motivated by money. They're motivated by something worth, you know, something greater than money. And money just becomes the means to an end. And in 2009, you know, I had hit this like really, really low point in my life. My girlfriend had left me. We had been together for like 4.5 years. She kind of just up and left, gone. No red flags, no warning signs, just boom, vanished, right? And I kind of got to this place where, out of heartbreak from that situation, I started asking myself, you know, like, okay, so wait, what happened here exactly? And I started looking around at my life, and, you know, I had lost my relationship with my mom and my dad and my brother. I had lost lots of friends at that point. And it was like the first time in my life where I started to ask myself, holy shit, you know, like, what if it's me? What if I'm the problem, right? What if, because I looked back at all these different situations throughout my life, and I looked at, like, I'm the only common denominator. And when I finally asked myself, well, what if it's me? And which is like the most powerful question I had asked up until that point in my life. I have a mentor that says that your life will reflect, the quality of your life will reflect the quality of the questions that you ask, period, right? And so that was the first time in my life where I asked, okay, well, what if it's me? And if it's me, what do I do? You know, what can I do? And so that's where I first got involved in personal development. That was 2009. I ended up taking some courses that helped me go inside myself, right? I've read before, you know, the longest journey that you'll take is the journey within, right? And I kind of went inside of myself and started to learn about me. Before that, you know, like here's my challenge with the educational system, right? When you look at education, the word educo in Latin means to draw forth, okay? To draw from within, right? So in early education, back when you had people like philosophers like Aristotle and his students like Plato, right? These guys were educators. When you came to them with a problem, they didn't tell you the answer. They asked you to find the answer within. And they just asked you questions. If you read some of the stuff that they put together, they asked people questions to draw forth their own power and their own intelligence from within themselves to find their way, right? And so they operated from this place that everybody knows what they're here to do and, you know, how to get to where it is that they want to go. Educational system as we have it now is like the antithesis of a true education, because it's not you know, drawing from within the student. It's indoctrinating the student with ideas and answers and so-called societal norms. And, you know, instead of drawing power from within a person, we kind of squelch that power by telling them, look, this is right and this is wrong. This is how you get there. This way doesn't work, right? And we kind of smother their own innate greatness. Because I believe that all people are like fantastic human beings. I believe that everybody comes into this world with exactly what they need to succeed in their life, exactly what they need to get whatever it is that they want out of life. And so, you know, I kind of fell into that trap myself, right, where I was kind of wrapped up in this whole educational system, being told, you know, this is right, this is wrong, this is how you succeed, this is, you know, will get you to failure, blah, 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 blah. And what I eventually found was like doing the exact opposite of what they told me is what got me to where I wanted to be, right? But in 2011, I started asking myself, who am I and why am I here, right? Who am I and why am I here? And of course I didn't mean, you know, like what's my name and, you know, what would I like to do right now in this moment? But like, who am I and what is my purpose here? And it took a while, you know, it took a while of asking that question. I asked it a lot because I realized that there've been times in my life where I'd made decent amounts of money, but I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel, fulfilled when I made money, right? During those different times, and I never made the money I'm making now, just to be clear, But I wasn't broke, right? And so when I started asking myself that question, it was difficult at first. I didn't have answers. I'd ask myself, why am I here? And I'd come up with these long, 3-paragraph answers about why I'm here, which really wasn't the truth. And then in 2012, I kind of had this realization of, I'm here to inspire. I have a story to share. I've been through a lot. There was times that I was living in my car, right? That broke, sleeping in the back of my car, next to the beach in Hawaii. So luckily I still had beachfront property, right? But it was a car, right? But I've been through a lot of different challenges, and I've been through a lot of personal struggles, and I just felt like, I want to share my story. I want to be an example for people about what's possible for them. And when I made that clarification, and then I combined that with Empower Network, and I think everybody with Empower Network that I've met that's making a decent amount of money, they all have, from my experience of them, a higher purpose, something greater, a vision greater than just Empower Network, right? Whether it's solely to provide for their family a life that they always dreamed of for themselves, or if it's to go out and make even a bigger impact in the world. Most people that I meet who succeed or who are successful have a vision that's greater than just money. And when I found Empower Network, I realized that it was a platform that I could use to, one, inspire people and express my purpose here, and second to that, right, not before that, but earn a good amount of money in pursuit of that. And I guess the reason I share that is because for me, what I've found is, like, when you find that vision, and I could tell you more about my vision, and it's a rather big vision, but when we find that vision, we kind of unlock with us a power that, and I'll try to stay out of like the quantum physics, but we unlock like a spiritual power that is unstoppable, and as I've gotten clarity on that vision moving forward, right, as I've gotten clearer and clearer about that, my income has continued to rise along with it. And I'm sure, like most people who are watching this have probably read somewhere, seen somewhere, they're probably educated. They say that when the why is big enough, the how will show up. Most people just focus on the how, though, right? They don't want to, they won't want to take any action until they know exactly how something is going to happen. And I learned along this journey of wanting to be an entrepreneur, that the how does not matter as much as the why matters. And if I want, like Martin Luther King didn't know how he was going to create equal rights for African Americans, right? Steve Jobs didn't know how he was going to revolutionize the home computing industry, right? They just knew that they were going to do it, period, right? And they had a why big enough to make it happen, and the hows showed up along the way. And the same thing has been the case for me here with Empower Network. And Empower Network kind of showed up as the vehicle to get me to where I wanted to go, as a result of having a vision that was greater than just making some extra dollars for myself, but truly having an impact on people, having an impact on lives, and in the long run having an impact on the world. And I believe that every person comes to Earth knowing what they want to do, what they're here for, but part of the game we play is that we forget. Right? And so I'd encourage you to kind of ask yourself, if I had to leave you with, a piece of advice, kind of ask yourself, what is it, why are you here? Right? And when you discover that why, it makes money making like really, really, really simple. It's like the cheat code for money. Anyway, I'll kick it back over to you, brother, because I just kind of wanted to jump in on something that you had mentioned briefly.
I'm so glad you said that. The amazing thing, Keala, is I set the show up and figured we'd probably talk more about different ways of building businesses. But what people need to hear is exactly what you just taught, because we've got the answer for you system-wise right here, and it's Empower Network, right? So if you're not in, just jump on that for $25. and get started, and then you can take care of the whole automating part that you need to do. But what Keala is saying is this is bigger than just having the systems. This comes from within. This is truly knowing what it is that you want and knowing why and what you're supposed to accomplish on a level that's bigger than just yourself. And I started asking that same question and got clear on that when I surrounded myself with people, when I started searching for the way, though I was searching for the how. I had my why when my Christmas tree fell over, for those of you who've heard that story, and I was looking at my wife and her broken ornaments on the ground, and I took a picture, which my wife was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I took a picture of this scene, but it was because I had to burn inside myself and remember whatever it took that I said the next year, next Christmas, 1 year from now, we will be free no matter what it takes. And I just had to capture that. And so I started looking for the how. I started running into people, asking them, what do we do? What do I need to do? And they all kept saying, Empower Network. They all kept saying, it's this guy, Dave Wood, and what he's teaching. I don't know if you ever ran into him when you were sleeping in your car in Hawaii, if you're on the same island. He was sleeping in his car too, right? Same guy. And the amazing thing from coming up from struggle is, hey, if we made it, then anybody can make it. So, the same for me. I started connecting, listening, and knowing that I could do it, and I had a bigger purpose. And it was when I got to an event. So those of you watching this, Keala and I, and all the people that we're talking about, we're going to be together on the 26th of June of this month, for those of you fortunate enough to be watching this, in Charlotte. So I'm going to propose to you something that people might say, well, hey, that's crazy, because you probably don't have it off work, and you probably don't have the money sitting around, but just get it, and just get to Charlotte, because that's exactly what I did. I know that's exactly what you did. I know you slept on couches. I slept in an airport one time and just had this lady running a vacuum like literally under my head, just like against the wall, like one of the big ones. And I just laid there. But yeah, I was embarrassed to open my eyes, and I was like, everything I'm going through is going to be worth it. It's all going to be completely worth it. And here I am, right? So we love you. This is a time, like Keala was saying, when you live your purpose, humanity, with what's going on, with where we're at right now, the way forward, this is it. Everyone needs to be living their purpose. Everyone who wants to. If you got, it's the time. If you want to live your purpose, this isn't the time where you're going to get pushed down by society. People will be opposed, but it's a tipping point right now. I mean, when I found people who were doing this, it just seemed like they were mystical, magical. You know what I mean? Because I found one or two people, because in my world, I was in real estate, right? This is what you do. Found one or two people, and then to go into a room where it's thousands, and to be here in Costa Rica and traveling the world, this has become the norm for me. And I can tell you, I know Keala can too. Anyone, if you want to do this, everything's in place for you to just take action and get started and connect and lock arms with us. And I can promise you that if you get to Charlotte, do whatever it takes, it will be one of those moments in your story where everything changes. Would you back that up, Keala?
Yeah, if you don't mind, man, I'd like to share a couple more things before we get going. And I know you need to get going, and this is probably a little bit than you had planned.
Thank you. Your time is so what you share is so valuable.
I could go on and on, but I'll do my best to keep this short. There's a couple things you mentioned. One, Empower Network. If you're watching this and you're not on the team, right, then there's probably a link or a button or or something that you can click on, or you can get back to Ashley and you can just get started right now. And I would encourage you to do so. And here's why that I believe that Empower Network is a powerful vehicle, is that not only have we put systems in place to and put an education together that teaches you how to utilize that system to create an actual life of freedom, right? To build an income and have a life. But a lot of what we focus on are the things that are the more deeper things that I was talking about just a few minutes ago. And a lot of our training is also revolves around drawing forth out of you the greatness that's inside of you. And so we don't just teach people how to be successful online marketers or successful internet marketers, but we teach people really, the education, the platform is really aimed at teaching you how to be successful, period. And because of what I've learned here with Empower Network, and because of what I've been able to create inside of myself as a result of what Empower Network's education, you know, I'll just put it like this. If an asteroid were to fall out of the sky tomorrow and land on Costa Rica, David Wood was annihilated, Florida falls into the sea as a result of a earthquake that's related to that asteroid, and Empower Network disappears, I'll still go on to build 6 figures this year, right? Because one, I've learned the skills that it takes to do it, right? Be online, so I know how to generate an income on the internet, and secondly, because I am a successful person as a result of the education, right? And it's really choosing to be that. You know, to keep it brief, in the beginning of this conversation, Ashley, you said that a lot of people have talked about proclaiming your vision, right? The power of proclaiming a vision, proclaiming a destiny that you're going to create for yourself, which I agree is powerful. And when I sat in that room in San Diego, California in 2012, and I said, I'm going to make it happen here, finally. I'm going to do whatever it takes, right? Proclaiming the vision was a huge part of that, and proclaiming that vision to everybody that I spoke to online and putting videos out there that proclaimed and supported that vision were important. But what's also important is the fact that that moment, I became a 6-figure earner inside, right? It's being that person. So I started showing up in my life as a 6-figure earner, not worried about the fact that I didn't have the results yet, because I knew that the results would catch up. You know, yeah. Today, I've been here about 20 months now with Empower Network. I have friends all the time that knew me back when I was broke. And I'll see them now at barbecues or get-togethers and stuff, and they'll say, wow, Keala, you know, I've seen your stuff on Facebook. Your life's really changed over the last couple of years. And I say, no, my life changed in a moment. It took a couple of years for the results to catch up, right? Because it was a moment that I became a 6-figure earner, where I made the declaration that that's who I am. And we'll teach you how to do those things for yourself as well. So not only do we provide you a platform with products that you can sell, a system that you can utilize to sell it, but provide you with an education that will help you be successful no matter what, right? And then there's events. And here's what I've learned about events, right? In 2009, when I got involved in personal development, I took this course for like 4 days straight. And one of the things I learned in that course is that back in 1996, when my parents got divorced, my dad walked out of my life. Right? He walked away from our family. And for like 2 years, he didn't really talk to me or my brother. It was his way of punishing my mom was to hurt my brother and I. And as a result of that divorce, I kind of started asking myself all these questions. And I made up this story that, you know, because my dad left, I'm not lovable. Okay? So follow me here for a second. I made up the story that I'm not lovable. And we as human beings, what we do is, and this is like combining what I learned in psychology, studying psychology, with other stuff that I've learned in personal development. And what we do as human beings is we experience events throughout our life. And as we experience events, especially events that are highly emotional, like my father walking out on us, we create a belief around that event, right? So my dad walked out, and I created this belief that I'm not lovable. So what happened as a result of that belief is about a year and a half later, I had my first girlfriend ever in life. I know that might be hard to believe because I'm so stunningly handsome, but
you're a handsome dad.
I had my first girlfriend, and this girl was just the cruelest human being I'd ever been around. Right? She put me down. She called me names. You know, I often heard things like "fuck you," "you're a piece of shit," "I hate you," "I hope you die." Things like that. I'd go to school with scratches on my face and my neck, right, from being abused in this relationship. And everybody around me was like, Keala, you know, like, what's going on? Like, why are you still with this girl? And I stayed, and she eventually left me, and after she left me, I chased her down. Okay, now follow me here. And she never came back. We never got back together. Later on, I get into college, and I end up with another girl. Okay, I end up with this girl for like 4.5 years. This girl's like housewife material. You know, cooks for me, cleans for me, brings me home something to eat every day if I'm home and she's coming home from work, and just totally took care of me. And about 1.5 years in, I kind of like fell out of love with her. And then like over the next like 3 years, I was unfaithful in that relationship. Judge me if you want, love me or hate me, I don't care. I'm just here to be transparent with you. In 2009, I discovered why I was doing those things, right? Because when I made up that story about myself that I'm not lovable, when I had a girlfriend who treated me really bad and treated me like I wasn't lovable, it helped me to support that story. Okay? In 2000, when I met the girl in college that I dated for 4.5 years, and she was really good to me and treated me very well, well, I had to push her out because I had this ongoing belief that I'm not lovable, right? So you can't love me. I can't let you in. I'm not a lovable person. Don't you see that, right? And it's all kind of happening on this subconscious level, okay? And then in 2009, another girlfriend leaves me out of the blue, and I realized, holy shit, I'm doing the same thing. I'm pushing this one out again, right? Because I'm not lovable. And what I learned there, you know, eventually I was able to work my way through that story, you know, kind of forgive my dad or whatever, and kind of, you know, eventually reach this place where I was even grateful to my dad for walking away, right? And grateful for the experiences that I learned from that. And here's what I'll say, is like events are going to happen in your life anyway, right? And you're going to create a belief about yourself based on those events anyway. And this is going to happen whether you like it or not. Whether you believe what I'm saying or not, this shit's exactly what's going to go down. Okay? I'll just be totally real with you. It's happening already. It's been happening in your life all along. And if you really took the time to be honest with yourself, you could look back over your life right now and start noticing events where you created some sort of a belief about either yourself or the world around you that has ultimately become the dictator of your future. Right? And when you understand that events are powerful, well then, it's time to take responsibility for what events that you're going to allow to shape your life, right? And so when Empower Network came along and said, hey, you need to get to this event, keep in mind the day that I made the decision to go to Empower Network's event, my first time, I was broke working in a coffee shop, bills going unpaid, living in a spare bedroom in my mom's house, and just the month before, I had given my girlfriend a fucking purse from a used purse that my mom had brought home from one of her customers' homes. It was like somebody else's trash, basically, I gave my girlfriend. That's how low I was financially. The day I made the decision to go, I had $37 in my checking account, but it didn't matter because I had made the decision. And when you make a decision, facts don't really matter as much, right? And so I found a way to get to that event. Not because, holy shit, you know, Empower Network says I need to get there, or David Wood says I need to get there, or all the leaders say that I need to get there. I made the decision to go because I knew that events are shaping my life anyway, and I better choose which events I'm going to allow to do that, period. Right?
Yeah.
So it made sense to me to go. And because of that event, because of that breakthrough that I had at that event, 5 months later I quit my job for good, right? I quit working for somebody else for life, and I was able to build a $15,000 a month income 7 months later. Now, obviously, income disclaimer, I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe you attend the event and, you know, just kind of like sit there with your thumb up your butt and don't do nothing. I don't know what you'll do, okay? So I can't say that my results will be your results, but I can guarantee that if you don't go to the event, well, there's two prices to pay for everything, right? There's the price of attending, and then the prices you'll pay for not attending. And I don't know what your prices are for not attending. You know, because you're paying those prices right now, right? You're paying the prices right now of not having clicked the link below this video and getting started for 25 bucks a year ago. You're paying those prices now. And I don't know what those prices are, but you know, and those prices are probably what drove you to this presentation in the first place. And if you want to stop paying those prices, which I would think are probably more expensive, the prices I was paying in my life were far greater than the cost of tuition, right, to get to an event, or the cost of getting started with Empower Network. And I finally kind of just made this decision that I was done paying those prices in my life, and I was going to pay the price of success for the first time. And I'll tell you, it's a lot cheaper and a lot more rewarding. So you have a decision to make right now as you're watching this video. You have a decision to make as you're listening to my story. You have a decision to make while you're listening to Ashley speak. And you can either make a decision right now that dramatically changes your future, or you can make a decision right now that keeps you stuck exactly where you are. which is it going to be? Because either way, there's a price to pay for the choice you make today. Which price are you willing to pay? That's what I'll leave you with.
I love that. You know, real mentors, the real people in your life will tell you the truth the way that Keala just laid it down. And there's something deeper. I know for a fact that people who have just listened to your story, Keala, relate and got value from you being willing to share your personal experience. Because the reality is, you know, ultimately it comes down to you may have the opportunity in front of you, which you do right now. It is truly up to you, and it is an act of love to decide, yes, I am going to allow myself to be around people who not only believe in freedom, but are living it in a practical way and are paying the price. You've maybe heard the analogy about you take your 5 closest friends, people you got around you, and that's going to be, you average that to your income. Same thing goes with freedom, love, and self-respect. So reach out, connect with us, come to the event, look us in the eye, let us, you know, give us a hug, shake our hand, be there, make it a point to go up to Keala and tell them, hey, thank you for sharing your story. I got something good out of it, and this is the commitment that I made. And lock arms with us, because none of us do this alone. You know, we leverage this technology. We're a movement, and what we've done so far, and you know, we've got hundreds of thousands of people that are actively involved in this movement and creating freedom and having these breakthroughs. This is nothing. We have barely scratched the surface. This is just the beginning of the transformation that's occurring, and it's picking up speed, and now's the time to be with us. So thank you, Keala. Thank you, brother. I can't wait to see you. Those of you here, you bet, to get your ticket, to get to the event, you just need to click this button right here, right now. Get started for $25. If you're already in, just go in your back office. The ticket's there, and it's actually already sold out past capacity. So now we're into them empowering Dave, or just saying, okay, we're gonna sell a little more, because we know some people don't show up. But reality is, it is literally sold beyond the capacity, and people are moving fast now. So get in there and get your ticket. Thank you, everyone, for watching and being with us, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.